obviously we're sitting here with Toronto Ultra, which has become Canada's esports team. Of course, this is not your typical 9-to-5 job. So maybe for those who are unfamiliar with the esports world, Jamie, could you explain a little bit about what your day-to-day schedule is as one of the pro esports players on the team?
Yeah, so being a pro player is like kind of different to a normal job. We kind of work later during the day, and we get described as like night owls. Like a typical day, we'd wake up around 11. Maybe do your morning routine, whatever that may be. But practice starts at 2, so you gotta be here around 1 hour before. We're just playing for about 8 hours, I'd say. Just grinding away, learning, practicing, all the stuff that comes with being a pro. After the 8 hours, you might go home and play more, or you might chill, or kind of just depends on the person. But we're busy 6 days a week.
And how often, Jamie, are you guys spending that time together, and how much has it kind of contributed to the team dynamic? Seeing you guys in the shoot before and even sitting down, it's clear that you guys have become quite close, and there's a lot of friendly banter there. How much does the schedule sort of lend to you guys really getting to know each other?
Yeah, so for me and Toby, like obviously being European, like we don't have anyone over here, so the only people that we have are the people we see every day. So like we've built this culture where it's like we're good friends out of the game, and we're just good teammates in the game. So to answer your question on how often we're spending time with each other, is like as soon as you walk through the door, like the next 8 hours, you're going to be in the room with your teammates, your coaches, and you're going to be locked in, having a good time, serious when you need to be, but it's a long time.
Now, Toby, for our typical cover shoots, we're covering athletes that kind of go through the traditional sports pipeline. If you're playing in club leagues, starting often in high school, you go through the collegiate level into a development league. It's kind of a clear blueprint as to how a professional athlete gets to that level. What's the typical pipeline for esports players? How does that career get started?
In Call of Duty, it's still pretty new, but we have a tier 2 system, which Scrappy went through, which Stanley also went through, which Jamie went through back in the day. It's pretty built out now. We have a lot of strong amateur teams. Last year, we had 2 academy teams who were like top of the bunch. So, I mean, you just start as an amateur and you work your way up any other sports, basically.
And Jamie mentioned that you were the 2 Europeans coming over, but what's so neat about you guys representing Canada's team is you kind of are a tapestry of a bunch of different cultures, and none of you are actually from Canada. I am wondering, is there any sort of northern rivalry? I know with the Raptors, we like to say, we the North, but I mean, Minnesota is right there. It's close in terms of proximity. Coming over, is there any sort of rivalry left over there between you and the team?
I think so. Definitely, absolutely. There's definitely some unfinished business between the Minnesota team and the new Toronto Ultra team, especially since the past Toronto Ultra players actually joined the Minnesota team. So there's a little bit of a rivalry going on there between the North, and I think the fans are going to love to watch it. I feel like everyone's really excited for it, so I am too.
And that's obviously something that we've become accustomed to in traditional core 4 major sports leagues is players and fans have certain games marked on their calendar that mean a little bit more. Is that typical in the season with you guys? Like obviously every match matters, every tournament matters, but are there certain players, certain teams that catch your attention preseason?
I mean, I would say, of course, because we all are one team, we're all close together, but we have other friends and other teams, and just like any other sport that we're close with. So I got friends on Las Vegas that I talk to every day. So yeah, there's definitely some matches that we all want to play.
But Thomas, I mean, aside from having friendships, like any sport, there is that sense of rivalry between teams. And of course, trash talking is a part of the sport. The only difference I'd say maybe in the esports realm rather than the trash talking that takes place in any other sport is that you're mic'd up. It's a lot more public. How much of a role does that play in your game, in your strategy, and how much of a core is it to esports at large?
Yeah, so personally, I'm a big person. I really think that getting loud with your team really brings a different kind of confidence to them. And it's just, we all want to, right when one person gets up or I get up, everyone gets going. And even if you look over and the other team's screaming at you, it makes them like, oh, these guys are really getting hyped and they're really coming with their best game. So it definitely plays a big role in matches like that.
Now, I, of course, know you guys as Jamie, Toby, Eli, and Thomas, but fans know you guys by your gamer names. And so I'm wondering if you can offer a little bit of an origin story to each of your names on the team. And there is a pass option, but I'm sure fans would be really, really interested into sort of the origins. We can start with you, Toby.
Sure. I mean, gamertag is Kleenex, originated from Xbox 360. They used to have like a system where you could switch your gamertag every 30 days or something like that. My cousin was like, let me make you a cool gamertag. And his explanation nowadays is like, it's like a clean hit marker, which was back in the day. And apparently that went to Kleenex.
How about you, Eli?
So my gamer name is Standy. I think when I was like 12, 13, I'd always try to make like cool names and kind of make up my own kind of words. And I started with Standy, and it just kind of clicked ever since. Probably my favorite one, and I just kind of let it grow on me.
I go by Scrappy, and I don't know, I think we all have like a big thing where it's like we were just looking through names, trying to find when we were younger, and just one really stuck, and that was with me. It was just Scrappy. And I go through two. It's either Scrap or Scrappy. It's whatever someone wants to call me, but yeah.
I'm known as Insight. Back when I was like 12 years old playing Black Ops 2, I think it was, I noticed all these like people I was like who were sweaty had all these cool names. I was just using my first name at the time, so I found a dictionary, picked up a dictionary, and I was just scrolling through, and the first like word that looked cool was Insight, and I literally just picked that one. I went, yeah, that's cool. I'm using that.
Now, I interviewed Chris, CEO of Overwatch, a few weeks ago at Elevate, and we were talking. What really surprised me about the esports world is, as someone who's more used to the traditional sports realm, I would have thought the lifespan, the career span of an esports player is a lot longer because there's less of the physical toll on your body. He was saying the peak tends to come at around age 25 just because of cognitive reaction time and those sorts of facets. I'm wondering if there's anything you guys do, and maybe Jamie, you can start us off, anything you guys do in the off season to help make your career, offer a bit more longevity, prepare yourselves for the season. Has that sort of evolved since you started in esports?
Yeah, so I'd say since the CDL started, it was like way less mature than it is like, I'd say now. Teams are very like proactive on trying to make sure you are like as fit as possible. Like for example, I've took up like hand stretches, like waking up, doing stretches for the body, all that stuff. Because I feel like the reason why people are like dropping off when they hit 25 is because they're not doing anything to help prolong their careers. And maybe more so they're burning themselves out by playing too much, or they're not taking time for themselves to like rejuvenate and come back and be better. So I feel like it's a space that's definitely maturing a lot more. And teams are providing a lot more like support for players. And yeah, like getting massages and hand stretches and making sure you're going to the gym and eating good all play a factor in playing longer. So
how about you, Eli? Have you adopted any of those methods, or have you felt the shift in focus to those tactics?
Yeah, so in terms of like staying healthy, we gotta realize that esports is also like very new in terms of like other sports that they've had a lot of learning to do, a lot of experience throughout the years. Esports is very new. So I think like the reason you do see like some athletes that have short careers is because like they're not necessarily taking care of their body, doing the right precautions, stretching every day. And like in terms of playing, like you're just using your hands and you're just sitting down all day. So it's really important to get healthy, work out the other parts of your body. And I mean, I think in the future we'll be able to see like more players that have longer careers as time goes on. But I think we're just very new into it. And a lot of people just don't really put necessarily really good things into their body, whether it's like fast food all day, energy drinks. You kind of want to combat that with some other things. So
100%. I think I couldn't agree more with the point of it's a young league, so it evolves as you learn more. I mean, if we look back at the NBA in the 70s, players were smoking cigarettes at halftime, and now they play twice as long because they're getting that work in the off season. Toby, I'm wondering, because from the outside, this is everyone's dream job. Everyone grows up saying, I'm going to be a professional gamer, and that's the height of what a career can be. What are some of the most challenging or taxing, sometimes grueling aspects of being a pro esports player that maybe the general public or casual gamers who are dreaming of your lives maybe don't realize?
I mean, esports is pretty digital and pretty like over social media. Like you depend on like the opinion of other people. You depend on your brand, which is like solely on social media. And then when you go through those hard times, sometimes it can be pretty mentally challenging. Like, you got people calling you out, you got people, getting in your head sometimes. And that's probably the one thing people don't really think about when you think about professional players. Other sports, you have the advantage, you can just like get off. So like social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. But us as players, esports players, we're like forced to kind of stay on there and always be there.
Now, Thomas, obviously as an outspoken player, was there any sort of adjustment when you first came into the public eye of dealing, again, now you have this massive audience following your, every success, but also your every failure as well, and they're going to be just as vocal as you are about it. Was that an adjustment at all, or was it something you were kind of used to, obviously talking between players before you were pro?
Yeah, so before I went pro, I was still in the amateur scene, so there's not as many eyes in the amateur scene, so your actions don't have as many consequences compared to when you're up in the league and you have 100,000 people watching like every move you have. It can, whenever you play bad, it's really it's taxing on you because your mental goes out the window. You're like, all right, I gotta bring it back, and they're not gonna stop until you bring what they expect you to like bring. So it's all about just keeping your head, to be honest, just staying off Twitter, like Toby said, staying off things that people are really just going to get into you, and just kind of do your own thing.
And Jamie, from a fan interaction perspective, what's the relationship with the Canadian and Toronto fans been in terms of coming to support you guys as, again, Canada's team?
Yeah, so when we hosted the Toronto event, for me, it went down as one of the best events we've had in the CDO history. In terms of like, all these fans were like diehard like Toronto fans. I was speaking to some fans and they were like, I don't really watch COD or esports. I didn't really know it was a thing, but I heard there was a Canadian team playing, so I'm gonna come down and show face and support the Canadian team, which was like kind of cool. And they're all buying like merch and they're all wearing the jerseys, and when you're doing the walkouts, they're all like getting in your face, hyping you up. And like, I'd say like we have a very unique set of fans where it's like, because we're the only team in the league, like everyone's behind us. Like if you're a Canadian, you're watching the Canadian COD team, you're right behind them. Whereas you might see in some American teams where it's like people might live in Atlanta, but they support the Dallas team or like that kind of stuff. But in Canada, it's like everyone's just behind the team.
And now, obviously, those are the highs and lows of fan interaction that pretty much every sport deals with. But one thing that makes esports so unique is the fact that you're dealing with the inevitable updates to the game itself, something that I kind of was blind to until I dove into the space, but of course it's such a major factor. Eli, I'm wondering if you can touch on a little bit of some of the challenges of, you've mastered certain aspects of the game. The next year you're going to have to adjust and get used to entirely new dynamics.
Yeah, so I think Call of Duty is a very unique game in terms of year to year because you go through a different game each year, and sometimes some players may regress, some players may get better, and it's kind of a learning process every year. And I think it's very important in terms of like, even when the game is out, you have new updates that come out, new metas, and it's kind of really important to just stay up to date, learn about them. I personally love reading the patch notes that kind of come out, the developers give them out. I read those a lot, and just playing a lot, learning the new game early, watching your gameplay, it's kind of like stuff like that can always like bring you a slight step ahead.
Toby, how about yourself? Is there any sort of obviously, coming from Eli, there's an excitement around looking at the patch notes, figuring out, filling in holes from last year's games, finding the advantages. But is there any nervousness before a season as to what are they going to change? What am I going to have to adjust to?
I mean, sometimes you don't really know what to expect when it comes to Call of Duty. I mean, sometimes the game might not be in your path or what you may like. But us as players, we love Call of Duty and we always adapt to whatever we're given. And I mean, I love it personally, always having to, change the game every year. Now we have the game for 2 years, so it's going to be fun to see what that's going to do to us.
And now, obviously, Thomas, you and Eli coming from the States. We've got Jamie and Toby coming from Europe. How would you compare Canada's esports culture, which seems to be a little bit in more of an infancy state than obviously Mad Lions is under the overactive umbrella as well. The European scene, it seems to be very well established. Similar dynamic in the States, maybe. I don't know. How would you compare Canada's market to some of the other esports markets abroad?
I think it's like you said, it's really like in the early stages. There's only one, maybe like not one, but there's an Overwatch team here, a Call of Duty team, only really a few esports teams that really represent Canada in general. But I think in the US, it's way more, there's way more teams, way more fans there just because there's way more teams to support. But I like how we're gonna really keep growing this brand and really just grow into Canada because the fans are unbelievable here.
Yeah, I think to bounce off that, knowing that Canada kind of has one team, like one Call of Duty team, and we are that team, it's kind of much cooler than like, at least in the States, there's like multiple teams. It's kind of, we're representing all of Canada in terms of like, yeah, we're the Toronto Ultra, but we're the only team here. So it's like, if you're rooting for the Canadian team, it's us. So it's kind of, I think, yeah, we're in the infancy state, but I feel like it can get really big.
And have you had the chance to see any of the, interact with any of the West Coast Canada fan base? Has there been any events out there where you've seen sort of a flood, or is that something that's on your radar, maybe a bucket list item to interact with some of the fans out West?
I think it's on the radar for sure. I think Toronto, at least this local area, I've noticed that there's a lot of support, but I think there's still some like reaching and like going out in terms of like the farther we get out. But
to bounce on that, I think before I was in a pro, before I even started my amateur career, you play with people from all over the country, all over the world, to be honest. So there's definitely, I know for a fact, there are definitely some people in like Vancouver and over like anywhere in Canada that are definitely like COD supporters that can't really make it out because they're too far. So I would love to go to Vancouver to host an event or anywhere.
Now, Jamie, obviously you guys have a cohesion as a team, but you're all pros for a reason. You're very competitive in your own right. Is there any, either when you're practicing, mid-game, post-game, what's the competitiveness in between you guys as a unit? Is there still sort of a competitive energy there?
Yeah, so it's not like all sunshine and rainbows, you know. Obviously we're a team, we all want to win, but like when stuff's not going right, like people don't see like the clash of heads or the clash of ideas in practice or all that stuff. So I feel like that's what makes us a good team, a very solid team. It has been for the past few years. Is clashing heads isn't a bad thing. It's because you want to win. If everyone was just smiling and fist bumping, oh, we lost that game, good try, I'll see you tomorrow, you'd see us just regress as players. But yeah, we definitely all have that competitive edge. And like every time you sit down and you're playing a team, you're practicing, you're on stage, it's business mode. You're straight into it. You want to win. You want to beat the other team on the other side of the stage.
I'll bounce off that. I feel like it's a big thing to understand. Yeah, we might clash heads. Yeah, we might argue one day about something that goes wrong, but we all have one end goal and we all just need to progress and just get through it. So we might argue for 2 hours, we might argue for 30 minutes, but as long as we get to that point where we all agree on something to like progress, then that's all that really matters.
yeah, well, I think one of the biggest things that I like to say, at least, is like when you have problems in a team, it's like the team versus the problem. It's not like two people clashing heads. It's like, I like to bring this up a lot. It's like if you have an issue, it's like the team is trying to solve that issue. It's not really one person coming at another person.
And does it feel like there is a pretty good open dialogue to voice, okay, this is where we need to improve, and there's sort of a reception to that?
Yeah, I think it's just all about, like, in my opinion, like being on the same game plan, where it's like one person might think they have a good idea, another person might think they have a good idea, but at the end of the day, all that matters is that everyone agrees on the same idea. So
now I am curious about your origins in the gaming world. So maybe we'll go specifically with COD. I'm wondering, I want to get to each of you here. I'm wondering if we can start with you, Eli. Maybe the first memory or experience or game that you remember sort of diving into in the Call of Duty universe.
yeah, so my first Call of Duty was Black Ops 1. And I remember because all my friends from school were playing it. And my dad was not really favorable for it for a little bit. It's like a shooting game. But eventually he got me it. And it was just kind of, when I first started playing it, it just became my favorite game very quick. And from there, I just kept playing the next game that kept coming out, and I kept getting better and better. And I had brothers, so I played with my brothers a lot as well. But I mean, Black Ops 1 was my kickoff game.
And is there still any lingering competitiveness with your brothers at all? Is it sort of, okay, we're throwing our hands up where we've been left in the dust?
Yeah, they definitely are been left in the dust, but I definitely played against them a lot. I mean, I played against my friends from school. We definitely had battles. I think that's kind of where it began. And once I kind of took the top for like the king of the school in terms of like playing COD, it kind of went on to like trying to beat other people around the world. So.
How about you, Toby?
My first COD was Call of Duty 2, but that's like when we were like 7, I think. Me and my brother used to do the campaigns together. But the first online one was Black Ops 1, I think. I was playing with my brother and his friends, and usually just used to carry them in like the public matches. And I mean, I think that was my first memory of like actually playing COD, like 10 years old. So.
How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, my first like online memory was when I moved to England from Germany, and everyone in my school was playing Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox, and I only had a PlayStation at the time. And my parents bought me an Xbox, and I started a clan with my friends from school, and we used to be the best clan in school. We used to run all the other clans. But yeah, that was just like my fondest like distant memory of like COD was just playing with my friends at school and just having a laugh.
I think with my first COD was Black Ops 2, and I have brothers that are much older than me. My brother's about 10 years older than me, so when I was the 10-year-old, they were 20 and they just couldn't beat me, and I finally understood, I'm pretty good at this, I'm just gonna keep running with it, and eventually we're at the top, so.
And to close us out here, I'm wondering if, Thomas, you can give us an idea of what defines a successful Toronto Ultra season for you during the 2023 year coming up.
Successful season, we better be winning. I think we all have the same goal on that. It's just we want to win as much as possible, and we know it's not everyone wins every single match. It's not realistic. So it's just we win as much as we can, and yeah.
Toby, I'm wondering who in your mind, maybe aside from Toronto Ultra, in your mind is the favorite this season, and what's the potential for your team moving forward?
Like the favorites aside from us would probably be FaZe, and then you also have LA Thieves, who won last year's COD champs. They might have some momentum coming into next year, but feeling pretty confident in us, beat them confidently, I think.
Amazing. Now, we just have a quick little rapid fire segment, which is essential. So just looking at, going to ask you some of your favorite things, whether it's about the city, whether it's about the game, yourselves, etc. Obviously, Toronto's known for its food scene. So I'm wondering, Toby, if you have, or you know what, we'll start with Jamie. Do you have a favorite Toronto restaurant?
Like a restaurant or fast food?
Whatever. Your favorite lunch spot, favorite place to order from?
Don't give fast food.
Okay. Favorite restaurant, Anejo?
That's a good one. I'll go with Italian. Kibo, I think it's called. Good one.
Thomas, favorite Toronto tourist destination? Maybe something that seems a little bit too mainstream, but maybe is still worth going to. Have you had any Toronto experiences?
Let's see. I think the biggest one is the CN Tower. It's just, you gotta go up 1,500 feet. It's pretty high. So I would say it's pretty mainstream, but it's something you gotta see. Maybe go to the museum maybe. I don't know, just something fun to do with your family.
How about you?
Probably Ripley's Aquarium. I mean, that's what it's called. Aquariums are always fun. Get to see the sharks.
Now, Thomas, all-time favorite game system?
Would be the Xbox 360.
Jamie?
The PlayStation 3.
Now, favorite streamer, Eli?
I don't necessarily have a favorite streamer. I mean, I feel like probably myself.
That's as good an answer as any. How about you, Toby?
Tyler won from another game, League of Legends.
Now, aside from COD, aside from being pros, favorite game to play casually? We'll start with you, Toby.
Previously been Elden Ring, but also Counter-Strike. Love that game.
Jamie?
FIFA.
And now, essential, if you could pick just one item, obviously you're a bit used to the cold, so maybe we'll start with you, Eli. Essential cold weather item, if you could pick one item to help you brave the winter.
Novitz jacket.
There we go. How about you, Thomas?
Mine would be, I like to wear Uggs, so I like to, because I'm a big believer is once my feet are warm, my whole body's warm.
Now, essential pre-match or pre-tournament routine. It can be a meal, it can be a song, it can be a meditation. Jamie, we'll start with you.
Mine's I have to breathe in and a cold shower.
How about you, Toby?
A light meal, not too heavy, just, a low fruit or anything like that.
Now, when you're not in Toronto, Eli, essential, it can be a bucket list location, somewhere you haven't been yet, or somewhere you've loved, but an essential travel destination.
Dallas. I really like Dallas. One of my favorite cities. It's clean. It's nice. Good food areas.
Thomas?
I would say the Jersey Shore. I like the Jersey Shore. I have a house there. Everyone's got to come to the Jersey Shore.
There we go. And now a quick this or that segment. Just choose between two of the choices here. We'll start with you, Toby. To play casually, team deathmatch, or search and destroy?
Team deathmatch.
Jamie, if you could add one player to your roster, Ian Porter or Seth Abner, who would it be?
Seth for vibes.
Modern Warfare or COD Black Ops?
Black Ops.
Now, we'll ask this for Thomas, who doesn't have a bias. Canadian or European weather?
Canadian.
Now, Jamie, more in need of a remaster, COD 2 or Modern Warfare 3?
Modern Warfare 3.
Now, here's a tough one, Eli. Give up COD forever, give up your favorite food forever.
Give it my favorite food.
And what would that
I like Italian food, so probably like pasta.
be? Gone.
Yeah,
Jesus.
love cocktail.
There we go. That's a good spot to end on. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for your time. Really appreciate it. That was awesome.
Cool.